Let's do this, you guys. Alright, Sandman, Preludes and Nocturnes by Neil Gaiman is the first volume in the Sandman graphic novel series. I don't have the comic book on me right now, and that's because I read it all digitally. I've been doing that a lot recently, so I will be showing screenshots and screen grabs from the actual comic book to show you guys some specific things I want to talk about it, but I don't actually have the comic on me, so forgive that. Neil Gaiman's Sandman is a long-running comic book series. He started writing it in 1987, 1988, I believe, and he continued with it regularly into the late 90s. He recently published Sandman Overture, which is a prequel to the rest of the series, but he says it's the final book he's going to write in the series. I haven't read that recently, and I decided to go back to the first volume before I read that, because I'm planning on reading it, because I wanted to go back to the beginning of the series and see how it begins, but also, and then so I can compare it to how it ends, but also how it begins. Look, I wanted to reread the first volume of Sandman, alright, so I gave myself an excuse. The first volume of Sandman introduces us to, as the name suggests, Sandman. He's also known as Morpheus, he's also known as Dream, he's also known as the Lord of Dreams, the Prince of Stories, all sorts of things. He's a part of the family known as the Endless. The Endless being a powerful race of beings who are the personifications of aspects of the universe. You have dream, you have death, you have destruction, destiny, despair, desire, and delirium. And they all represent those aspects of human nature, the universe, and those kind of energy forces. They're not quite gods because they aren't physical beings in any sort. They are personifications of those things. Death is literally death. Dream is dream. Destiny is what destiny is. It's kind of hard to grasp and understand. Even reading the whole series, it's a bit loose as to what it means exactly. But just note, they're more important than gods, and they're more powerful than them, even. So the first volume opens with Dream being kidnapped by this group of rogue mystics in the early 1900s. They wanted to capture Death and control her and kind of kidnap her so they could conquer Death, literally, so no one would ever die and they could be immortal. But they accidentally capture Morpheus because they're a bunch of blubbering idiots and they capture him instead. So he spends 70 years under their grasp and he has to plan his escape. When he finally escapes, spoiler alert, but this is the first issue, he has to regain a lot of his property and go back to his home and start doing what he was doing 70 years ago. And throughout the first volume, we just see him go around and get his stuff back, and it's fascinating. I love Sandman. I've read the whole series through at least twice, probably just about twice now. And I feel like it's something that gets better as I get older and I reread it. It's a lot more mature than I remember it being, and I think that's because I myself as a person have matured. There's a lot of themes and ideas and literary and religious references that I didn't grasp onto and I didn't realize when I first read it because I just didn't know as much and I didn't have that experience yet. The whole series is a drama, and it never takes itself too seriously. It's always fun to read. It's always interesting, and I never feel like it's so self-serious that it's impossible to read, but there's enough drama and mystique to it that you always feel the urgency and the sense that what is happening is important and that you should give a crap. Neil Gaiman writes each issue as kind of a tribute to a different genre or literary thing or a different book or something that he loves a lot. There's a couple of issues in this where he mentions in the afterword of the volume I had that they were supposed to be like classic British and English horror stories, that they were these old styles of writing horrors and stuff, and he wanted to replicate that. And he does that throughout the rest of the series as well, which is why it's so fun to read. Every issue is kind of its own love letter to a different form of writing. And he fuses his own personal beliefs of like religion and myth and his own creations, and he fuses that, especially in the first volume, a lot with the mainstream DC universe. We actually get a couple of characters from the DC universe inside the book of the first volume. Justice League is named a couple of times. We actually meet Martian Manhunter and Mr. Miracle, who are superheroes in the Justice League and stuff, and we actually get to see him interact with John Constantine, who was my favorite comic book character of all time. I love John Constantine. And we actually get to see him go on adventures with him and go do stuff with him, which is really cool. He establishes a lot within this first volume for the rest of the universe of the series. I'm not sure how much he had planned out for this series because he put stuff in the first volume that doesn't pay off for a long, long time. Or not a long time, but another couple of volumes or so, I think. and he introduces a lot of ideas in this that he will expand on. So it's impressive how much he either had planned or how much he was able to go with what he had previously. Neil Gaiman, and I've noticed this in American Gods, which I swear I'm coming out with that review. I know I keep mentioning that, I want to get it right. He has this, there's always this idea of old replacing the new, and I find it interesting that within the DC universe, which Sandman roughly takes place in, the first volume, like I said, shows us these characters from the rest of the DC universe, but as it goes on, it kind of separates itself from that completely. It's interesting because within that time period he was captured from, like 1916 to 1986, which is about when the book is published, the world of DC has changed completely. Superheroes have been introduced. You have Batman and Superman and the Justice League and supervillains and new gods that have come into being, and you have old gods and stuff like that. A lot has changed for Morpheus, and I love reading this because Morpheus is a character, he's not a nice person at all, but I always want to read him. I always want to see what he's going to do because he's human enough, but he's separate enough from us that I'm always a bit fascinated by him. And it's a really strange thing to say, but that's how I feel. He's human but distant enough. Also, I just have to say, Death is introduced in the first volume with Sandman, at least in the collected editions, and she is probably the greatest female character ever written in comics ever. She is fantabulous. She's so fun and fascinating. Funsinating. I'm gonna use that word, funsinating. She's fun. Like, I want to hang out with this girl. I mean, I'd probably be dead, so I'm not going to go anywhere, but I want to hang out with her. She has this upbeat and fun personality to her, but she has this wisdom and she knows so much beyond her years. I mean, she's literally infinity. So I guess she's a lot older than she looks, but she has this wisdom that you wouldn't expect of her at first. Also, there's a panel of her saying peachy keen and putting on some sunglasses that I have had as my wallpaper on my computer for a very long time, or I had as my wallpaper, and I absolutely love it. Neil Gaiman's prose in this is very impressive. He writes better in this comic than I've seen a lot of writers do in normal prose in other comic books. He knows how to use language, and he knows his poetry, and he knows his flow, and he knows his style so well that he does it effortless. Bloopers! We're doing another round of bloopers, everyone! There's this panel I love where he's had him in a word competition with a demon, and the demon says, you have to like one-up each other with your words, and the demon says, I am anti-life, the beast of judgment. I am the dark at the end of everything, the end of universes, goods and worlds, everything. And what will you be, Dreamlord? And Dreamlord responds with, I am hope. I love that. It's simple, it's to the point. Neil Gaiman knows his characters and he knows his language. Honestly, guys, this is a fantastic series. Do yourself a favor and read it if you haven't. It's mature, it's well developed, it's great for people who love literature and books because there's so much in this that is a love letter to those things. And I always tell people, if you want to get into comics but you're a normal book person, you prefer novels over to comics and you don't really know where to start with Sandman. He's a known writer, he's done books, he understands these things, the art is amazing. I don't know if I mentioned that, but oh my god, the art. Start with Sandman and work your way through the whole series and you'll cry at the end because it's over and you want more of it, but there's no more of it. Thank you guys so much for watching this review. A bit longer than I expected it to be, but you know what? There's a lot to say because it's such a good book. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. If you like the review, you know what to do. If you like me and my personality, you also know what to do. So yeah, comment what you think if you've ever read Sandman. I would love to talk about Sandman because it's awesome. And yeah, I'm going to be reviewing American Gods soon. I swear to God, I'm actually doing that. That's not just something I keep talking about. I have the review. I'm just getting it right. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Check out some of my other videos. I do fun stuff sometimes. I would like it if people watched it. You know, I like to think that I'm not the only person watching my own videos, but it's cool. Thank you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.